When you purchase a plane ticket for hundreds of dollars, you might assume a big chunk of your money goes to the airline. Just a bunch of rich companies making millions a year. The airline industry is a fragile, dog-eat-dog industry that takes no prisoners. As a matter of fact, in 2017, US airlines made a mere 9% profit margin on average. The reality is that the ticket revenue is cut up into hundreds of pieces, divided among such groups as airport security, fuel truck drivers, pilots, navigation system officers, and hundreds more. So why are plane tickets expensive? Off the top of your head, you can presume fuel and pilot salaries take the bigger cut of airline revenue. As a matter of fact, with the introduction of highly fuel-efficient planes like the Boeing 777-200LR with GE90-115B engines, fuel is less of a concern than it was before. Airlines are concerned with hundreds of other costs that come with aircraft operations the public has little knowledge of. Generally, airline operation costs are divided into two categories: direct operation cost and indirect operation cost. To simplify matters, we will divide it into pre-departure and in-flight costs. The process of making this video covered 3 research papers and over 60 resources which we have made available in the description of this video for the preparation of the script. Regardless, the complicated and highly varying nature of the airline industry forces us to take most things at average values and make many assumptions. However, we will try to be as detailed as possible whenever necessary. Today we will be flying from Hong Kong International to San Francisco International Airport. To get the ideal price, we purchased the ticket for 3 months out. We will be flying economy in Boeing 777-200LR, which stands for long range, in flight UA862, operated by United Airlines. The flight hour will be 12 hours and 55 minutes, and the block hour, the gate-to-gate time that is estimated to be 13.5 hours. Our plane has a seating arrangement for a maximum of 336 passengers, but we will consider the load factor or percentage of seats filled of 81.5%. This is based on the data from United for its 777-200s in 2014. For the lack of recent data, we will be assuming this value. With that, today's flight will have 274 of its seats filled. United will start deducting the cost from your ticket even before you purchase the ticket for $563.45 for this flight. The first of these is the payment for the promotion that brought United Airlines to your attention. If you booked through a travel agency or anywhere except directly from the airline's website, we will need to consider commissions. There is also the process through which United determined how much to sell the seat for. This is done through what we call dynamic pricing. The ticket of your seat changes by the second based on market demand, time until takeoff, time of day, the cancellation rate for your flight, and thousands of other parameters. It is impossible to determine the price of your seat at any given time by simple calculations. For example, if you and your friend were to take a round trip together with 3 flights in each direction, there can be as many as 1 billion fare combinations. If we were to print the tickets for each fare combination, the length would stretch the distance from the Sun to Earth over 250,000 times. So, airlines need to pay a good sum of money to determine the final price you will need to pay. For the entire process of reservation and booking, the airline will reduce $26.81 from your $563.45 of purchase. Once you pay, right off the top, $59.45 will go to taxes and fees. We will talk about this later in the video. For now, only $477.19 remain of what you paid. When you enter the airport with your bags packed and eager to return home, you start running the traffic service tab from your purchase. Everybody that provides service to you directly or indirectly needs to get paid. The security personnel, the immigration officers, waiting area cleaners, baggage drop workers, check-in crew. When you check in, the officer must check you in, accept your bag, send it through a complicated belt to loaders that will then sort it and put it into your specific flight, probably carelessly. Here, the officers, the system, and even the boarding pass papers that cost anywhere from 1 to 3 cents are paid from your purchase. After that, the immigration service will charge you what is called the departure tax. This is part of the tax and fees we talked about earlier. Finally, regretting coming 6 hours early, you go to the waiting area where you will probably contribute to the airport shops by buying unnecessary stuff. In the process, you will be using up space and leaving it for cleaners to deal with. This entire indoor process of traffic service costs you about $21.06. Behind all these are the administrative costs. The airline needs office buildings for its administrative works, pay its administrative employees, insure its buildings, set up and maintain call centers, pay for data crunching and stats, and maintain good publicity among other duties. To make the airport run smoothly and your flight virtually perfect, you will need to pay $24.89 for your flight today. This is around 4.94% of your subtotal after tax. Our plane, as worldliner as it is, needs to be maintained properly so you don't end up at the bottom of the ocean. There are two different types of maintenance, airframe maintenance and engine maintenance. Each come with labor and material costs. Our engines, GE90-115B, are the world's most powerful turbofan engines and can produce a maximum of 127,900 pounds of thrust. They are not cheap either. They cost about $27.5 million each. For maintaining them, you will have to chip in your part of $24.34 in materials and labor for this flight. In the meantime, the airframe of the aircraft needs to be kept at excellent conditions. We just simply did not want to look down at the ground directly from 30,000 feet up. So, you will have to chip in your part for this flight, which is $62.34 in airframe maintenance. In total, considering labor, parts, inspection, and restoration, you will pay about $86.68, leaving your purchase leftover at $344.66. While you get settled in, choose your seat and get ready to fly, all the crew is making final checks for departure. The pilot is checking the fuel gauge, the propellers, the flaps. The cabin crew will be checking the fire alarm, megaphones, defibrillator, FOD or foreign object debris blocking the air. In the meantime, the ground crew will be clearing the area and getting ready for pushback. Everyone is responsible for a set of activities which they need to complete for your safe arrival. If an emergency hits, everyone should know what to do and how to do it. Today's flight has a total block hour of 13.5. Since the payment of the crew differs based on their experience, we will be taking a captain on the second year of his or her contract and 2 first officers each on the second year of their contract. In the 2017 United's contract, a captain on the second year of his or her contract receives about $257.48 per block hour for Boeing 777-200s. And a first officer in the second year of his or her contract makes about $137.76 per block hour. Accordingly, the cockpit crew makes $7,195.50 on this flight. Divided between the 274 passengers, everyone will pay $26.26 for the cockpit crew. For this specific aircraft, United assigns 10 flight attendants, each of whom will be paid $29 per block hour for calculation convenience. That is $14.28 per passenger for the entire flight in cabin crew costs. The other major cost is the financial cost of your flight. This is the collection of depreciation of the plane, its insurance, and its interest. The main contributor to this is the cabin pressurizing. There are 2 main reasons why planes fly at such high altitudes. The first is the higher the altitude, the lower the fuel required to achieve a certain speed. Second, the higher the altitude, the smoother the air and the lesser the turbulence and storm. So flying at high altitudes is not only safe but also fuel efficient. The problem is, at a higher altitude, if the cabin is not pressurized, everyone in the plane will face a lack of adequate oxygen. So, every time the plane lifts off, the cabin will be pressurized. The higher the number of pressurization cycles the plane goes through, the more the pressure the fuselage needs to endure, and the more it wears and tears. That is how it depreciates. The entire financial cost for this flight per passenger will be $25.37. Now that we are in the air, we need to think about the fuel we are burning. The largest cost of flying comes from fuel expenses. As a matter of fact, planes burn fuel even before getting airborne. The fuel burnt on the runway for taking off and landing is about 2,077 liters. While on the air, 777-200s will burn about 3.25 liters of fuel per passenger per 100 kilometers. Considering the 10-year average or normal jet fuel price of $1.74 per gallon or 45 cents per liter, the plane will burn about $934.93 worth of fuel on the runway and $45,523.60 worth of fuel in the air. But no need to worry, you are only responsible for $166.14 worth of fuel for the entire get-to-get trip. Compared to our plane, an average passenger car will burn about 1,045 liters of fuel for the entire 11,127 kilometers or 6,914 miles of journey. With the average retail gasoline price of $2.60 per gallon or 68 cents per liter in 2019 in the US, we would need to pay $717.75 in gas, not to mention the time and depreciation of the car. So it's a sweet deal, not so expensive when you think about flying. Up until now, we have spent about $451.39 of the initial $563.45 we purchased the ticket for, leaving us $112.06 to spend. Of course, you will be starving if you do not eat in the entire journey. You will also need to drink, relieve yourself with a restroom break, catch up with the outside world through the internet, catch a break from your day under those blankets, and last but not least, enjoy the in-flight movies that make the time fly by. The list of movies, music, newspaper, magazines in your flight all cost money. The movies you watch are carefully censored. This includes editing out competitive airlines logos, crush, foul language, and sometimes changing bloody scenes to black and white. Some airlines pay up to $20 million a year for in-flight entertainment content. The entertainment devices themselves cost up to $5 million per aircraft. With this, the entertainment system along with the rest of passenger services cost you about $21.06 or around 4.18% of the after-tax cost of your ticket. Now you might be enjoying Crazy Rich Asians for the 10th time, but many professionals starting from the pilot are looking after every detail to get you to San Francisco safely. This includes the navigation party that is constantly in touch with the cockpit. There is also the meteorology service for your flight and other navigation details. In addition to that is what we call the overflight fee. Every country is entitled to the airspace above itself, roughly. Accordingly, every airplane that passes through a sovereign state's airspace pays what is called the overflight fee, kind of like a rent. The navigation fee in total comes about $53.51 per passenger. Just before landing, you will have used about $525.96 from your purchase. That's about 93% of your ticket price. And now, you only have $37.49. But that does not all go into the airline's pocket. The welcoming airport will also charge you what is called the landing fee. This includes the gate fee, parking fee, welcoming crew, and more, which depend on the maximum takeoff weight and maximum landing weight of the aircraft. Now you don't need to get in all the process of determining that cost. You just get ready to get up before the doors open and make the aisle packed for no reason. We will take off the calculations. You will pay about $7.60 in landing fee and be done with it. That leaves the airline with $30.43 left. There are of course other costs which are too deep in the details that we cannot cover in such a short video. On December 31st, 2019, United Airlines reported a profit margin of 5.89%, which is not aggressively bad. If we get 5.89% of the post-tax $504, the airline will have made $29.68 from your ticket, leaving us 75 cents to spare for detailed costs. That's a lot. So there you go, that's where all the money went. From the original ticket price, the airline made only $29.68. And the rest is divided between hundreds of parties that worked tirelessly to get you to your destination. But this is a very rough estimate, however detailed the research done on it. The airline industry is filled with tiny details of varying amounts for every value, every plane, every day, every weather condition, every route, and hundreds of other factors. It is virtually impossible to acquire the exact numbers without the actual data from the airline company. There are methods out there like the Association of European Airlines Operation Cost Analysis to evaluate such operation costs, including software like Piano. Now that you know what goes into your ticket, you might not be as shocked at the price of your next ticket. For now, please consider hitting the like button if you love this video, sharing it on your socials, and subscribing if you want more.